who gets to take credit for this deal.
No one's dancing around here.
Colleague at the State Department briefed our colleagues that President Trump was critical in getting this deal over the line. Do you not agree with that statement?
I mean, look, I'm not going to speak to a random person.
Literally your colleague.
I don't know who this person is. I'm not going to. Oh. What I can say is, look, obviously Matt Miller will speak for himself.
Some random person? The spokesman for their own State Department? What an odd bunch of communists in the White House. Joining me now, my friend Sean Spicer of the wonderful Sean Spicer Show. Sean, you have stood at that podium. You've done that job. Not an easy job by any stretch of the imagination. Give old Karine Diversity Hire a grade. How'd she do?
What I don't know this because I got an F once, but I don't know what's below that because I got like this circle around it that was like you were actually really failing. Let me just tell you a couple things that are important since you played that clip. Number one, it really shows what a moron she is. The idea that you call the State Department spokesman a random person. Number two, that you don't know them. Number three, you haven't coordinated it. What do I mean by that? Just so your viewers get this. If I were going out, when I was at the U.S. Trade Rep's office and I was the spokesman, Dana Perino, Tony Snow with the press secretaries in the White House, I would tell them, I'm going out. We're going to announce something. This is what we're saying. Here are our talking points. Here's our statement on it for approval to make sure that that was consistent with what they were going to say on the podium. Conversely, when I was press secretary, I would make sure all the agencies, et cetera, let me know what they were going to be saying. So I could say earlier, the State Department, the Department of Defense, et cetera, said the following, right? So that reveals such a level of incompetence that I don't know where to begin. But as I was getting ready for the show and your team said that they wanted to play this clip, I thought of another thing that I'm going to give exclusively to Jesse Kelly. I have said that there are two things that Karoline Leavitt has going for her coming into this job as White House press secretary. Number one, she worked there before. That's just an inherent advantage. She understands the logistics of the press operations that most folks don't get the opportunity to do. Number two, she has a fantastic relationship with Donald Trump. Okay. Those are the two things that I've been telling people why I think she'll be successful. When your producer said that they were going to play this clip, I thought, I'm adding a third. When I became press secretary, I succeeded Josh Ernst, who was President Obama's last press secretary. Josh was very competent at the job. He's a very nice guy, very well liked by the press corps. And so it was difficult coming into a job where you knew that everybody liked Josh. He did a very good job, right? So I had to go, oh gosh, I'm following this guy. Granted, he's from the other party that clearly everybody likes and they respect him. Karoline's walking into a job where as long as you breathe, you are going to do a better job than this one.
It's all about the starting point. It's all about where the bar is.
It is.
Sean,
I had a buddy of mine back in the day who was taking a job, and he said, the current person in there is horrible. And I said, that's the beauty. All you have to do is suck less. You don't even have to do a good job. Mm-hmm. And that's what Karoline has to do going in. Now, unfortunately, Donald Trump's a tough boss. But literally, after Karine Jean-Pierre, you just have to suck less.
What do you mean tough boss? He call you in after your press conferences and whip you for things or what?
There was no physical violence, but there was the verbal equivalent.
Oh, Sean, I've got to know. What'd you screw up that made him mad? Give it to me.
Oh, I remember during the transition at one point, I had recommended, there was this opportunity. The New York Times wanted him to go to the New York Times. And I said, what are you kidding me? You just became president. You don't go to them. They come to you. And frankly, the New York Times sucks. And I don't think we should do it. And he lit into me. And I never forget this because another senior aide at the time looked over at me and said, don't worry, that's nothing. And I said, are you kidding me? I've never been, but Trump just, on the flip side, just to be fair and clear, when you knock it out of the park, he lets you know that too, right? So he is you never worry about where you stand with Donald Trump. Like when I did well, I got a bear hug from him once. But when you screw up, you don't have to wonder what he thinks.
Sean, doesn't this back up the point I made a long time ago, switching gears back to Karine diversity hire, that Jen Psaki, of course I was not a fan of Jen Psaki, but she did the job of press secretary very well. She had to be press secretary for a non-functional old man surrounded by communists, but she lied very well, represented herself, represented him as good as you can possibly do. And I used to tell everyone that, and they said I was crazy until Karine got there, and now everyone sees what I saw. Jen Psaki was not bad at the job.
Right. Karine Jean-Pierre is like asking me to perform orthopedic surgery. I have no ability to do that and no formal training. Jen Psaki, love her, hate her, your analysis is exactly right. She was a trained professional, okay? She spent a career, she was the State Department spokesman, Obama's campaign spokesman. She'd been the White House communications director. Karine Jean-Pierre was Kamala Harris's campaign chief of staff. She was a field organizer for, that's not kidding. Seriously. And she was John Edwards, if you remember him from North Carolina, a field organizer for him. She wasn't a press person. They literally, and I will tell you this because I've had this discussion with others, and this isn't anything secret that I've shared with Caroline. But your principal deputy in the press office is, in military terms, your XO. They are your right hand. They are keeping the trains on time. They are making sure that when you are in countless meetings of massive importance, that they are your eyes and ears. Jen Psaki chose her to be her XO, her right hand, her number two, her senior executive vice president. I wouldn't hire that woman for anything. And so it does make me question Jen Psaki, her judgment. The idea that you tell people, and by the way, on the way out, she's the most qualified person to do this job. Look, I get you have to lie for Biden, but at some point that's for your reputation.
Sean, one thing I have really enjoyed is Jill Biden not really keeping that much of a lid on the complete disdain she has for Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, all the rest of them. I am so enjoying the palace intrigue, mainly because we're not involved and it's all the worst people in the world throwing poop at each other. I think it's fantastic.
So I'm going to give you the word of the day, and I'm going to steal it. I got to give credit where credit is due. My buddy Tony Katz. The word of the day is bitter, and Jill Biden is bitter. If you read the story in the Washington Post, she's pissed at Nancy Pelosi. The interaction with her at the with Kamala at the Carter funeral was epic. I mean, she does not mince words. She is petty and bitter, and it shows. And frankly, it's not that I don't understand it. I mean, Kamala Harris trashed Beau Biden. She trashed them. She lost the race in epic fashion. She blamed Joe Biden. She did a horrible job after having the mantle handed to her. She's pissed at Nancy Pelosi for throwing her husband under the bus and thought that they actually were friends. Welcome to Washington, get a dog. I mean, these guys couldn't, by the way, just as a side note, the Bidens couldn't even get a dog the right way. The dog bit out. I mean, they always, what's that famous saying? Like, if you can't find a friend, get a dog. They can't even get that right. The dog bit everyone.
Sean, does this take some of the bloom off of Barack Obama's rose? I know Barack Obama was instrumental in knifing Joe Biden out the White House. Barack Obama was also instrumental in rallying $1.5 billion for Kamala Harris to light on fire in front of the entire country. Barack Obama is a mover and a shaker in Democrat circles. Does this diminish him a little?
So there's two ways to look at this. I've generally looked at it for the longest time as he can't get anybody to succeed him. They're not rallying. But on the same time, you do have to flip it and say, does this make him look better? Like, look at all I was able to do and nobody can hit that bar again, right? Look at how awesome I am. Joe Biden couldn't hit it. Kamala Harris couldn't hit it. I'm the only one who can hit it. I'm the only popular person. You've got to stick with me. I'm the only one who can beat anybody. I'm the only one who can mobilize and organize and unify the party. Everybody else has tried. So I guess the question is, what is his goal? Is his goal to create an army of successors? Or all, because you can't, I mean, Bill Clinton's tarnished, right? No one wants to be, I mean, we all have now come to realize that, like, you know, literally what the bloom and all the petals and everything has come off that rose. So Barack Obama is the only living guy in the Democratic Party that's a draw. And there's got to be something inside of him that says, hey, this isn't bad being the kingmaker. The guy that everybody who wants to run has to come kiss their ass. I mean, there's all those stories, Pete Buttigieg, others, and they make the trip and they ask him, what can you do? And how should I win? And what should my strategy be? The second that there's a next person, then he's not the guy anymore. And I have started to think that he enjoys everyone else losing because he remains in pole position in the Democratic Party.
I could see that. John, as always, thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.